Thank you all for coming. This is a fabulous gallery. And Robert, thank you for having us here, and Gina for putting it together. So I'm going to start actually with a poem by the first poet laureate. I was the second, Barry Spacks, a wonderful, incredible poet and artist, and he would be here if he were here. So I'm going to read a short poem of Barry's because I feel like he's here in spirit. One good thing. We need a good thing, don't we? Besides the whatever that probe landing on the comet, which is a good thing. One good thing. One good thing I did today amid various projects and calculations. I told a woman in sudden need I'd be happy as a pear to help. And she, who'd sounded so desperate before, laughed on the phone at my words, and briefly there we were, laughing despite all woe, the two of us, happy as pears together. And since my name is Perie, I thought that would be good. There was a show at the Santa Barbara UCSB Department of Architecture and also at the Jane Deering Gallery some years ago of sketches by Peter Meller. And there was this wonderful sketch that just, it charmed me. And it was just a line drawing of a naked woman running down the street, just a few lines, with just only a string of pearls around her. So, we have different voices that we write in. And so this is called Tra-La. Tra-la, I've lost my clothes. I'm one of those who doesn't care. I cried, don't dare, then tossed them off. Tra-la, I can't even find my underwear. I didn't fight much to resist the clutch. Thrilled to the core, I've taken flight, but I might go back for a little more. Look at him there in a trance, a stupor. I confess I feel really super. Light as a feather, no dress in the way to tether my dance. Should I catch flack from one of the girls, I'll say at least he left me my slim strand of pearls, bouncing off my generous breasts as I hopped down the street feeling younger by years. Tra-la, my dears. It's a very unusual poem for me to write. And I never rhyme, but I rhymed there. And this was of Sarah Scudera, age 87, listening to herself sing Visi d'arte at 28. She enters a room almost bare, just a tall window, a table, a chair, like an aged painting, this room, that would leave dust or splinters on your fingers if you touched. The room is filled with something else she knows but can hardly believe. Her voice, clear, free of strain. Is it really her? Her? Then? Was it real then? She places her gloved hand on the back of the chair, slowly sinks, her eyes looking for where the sound is coming from after all these years, and then, unable to contain her joy, she begins to hum along, not for what she has lost, but for what she hears again, feels at every breath, the beauty still hers no one sees. Her fingers begin to tap the melody against her worn coat sleeve as she whispers, beautiful, her eyes glistening, beautiful. And she is, more now than ever, embossed in time's frieze. The fine fox hairs of her coat collar quiver on a high note. You can almost see the sequins shimmer on her breast. Watch a cascade of dark hair fall from beneath an old wool hat pressed down on her head. And then the recording ends in this bare room where she remains and closes her eyes over herself. Writing for life. I do writing groups with at Sanctuary Psychiatric Center also, which is a center for people with mental illness. On the edge, he signs his name with a skid mark, voice a hollow drum, willow without stretch of deer skin to bring the rain. Having been on the edge ourselves, the long way down or up, either way barely bearable, we hide behind neatly dressed words. He writes in such a jumble, word salad with blood dressing. No one understands, but that's the whole idea. Last time someone figured it out, he was sent down the river, figure of speech, to get his head screwed on straight, 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 locked in a room full of curveballs. I just wanted to stand out, he says, slinging up the umbrella of his misfortune. As if your nails are trying to hang onto the sky, I ask. Uptalk, it's called. He laughs a cry, his strong hand over his wet, pale cheek. Curse the screw of chemicals that leave who we love tweaked and double-crossed. So my husband passed away some years ago, and I wrote this poem after seeing my daughter in San Francisco, and we'd seen the Chagall exhibit, retrospective in San Francisco, which was fabulous. And this poem happened after visiting Chagall, San Francisco. Those women that Chagall painted, the purple ones floating in the sky, concocted of persimmon and fig-colored squares over crimson catawampus roofs, roosters posed in off-kilter windows. I'm like that, detached. To stay grounded, you have to unfasten yourself from the once true. Look around and see what else. Old emus poke heads through the thistledown fog, silver as the brim of my brain as I drive home at dawn. My husband somewhere out there, not in a Chagall black business suit, maybe just his cowboy hat, where sky bucks its hind legs. I want some wild color to ride this out. Imagine Chagall's wings on our backs, and suddenly we're floating, the whole family, those living and dead in a parallel sky above dense green patches of artichoke fields and grapevines. Once in a while we pass each other and wink. You should hear those roosters crow. And I'm going to read 2 more poems from my book, Baggage Claim. And again, ekphrastic poems. A Common Crop. After the painting by Jules Breton, Returning from the Fields, 1871. First glance, the 3 peasant girls appear complacent, almost peaceful, turned to each other in conversation, cheeks flushed with the rouge of wilting sun. They hold each other's hands, linked by the shared bond of daily strain, hair tied off from dust and heat. In their weariness, you almost want to hug them, offer tea and soup, some words of comfort, massage their feet coated with mud, thick as horsehide, stinging with burr and thistle as they trudge home between corridors of wheat. Looking beyond, you wonder about those flowers like cotton tufts, opium poppies you learn once a common crop, now rare as the girls themselves, who may dream an easier life in sleep's escape. One bears herself up, gripping an alder staff, as if hearing bells in the distance, clanging through the curdled sky. And I'm going to end with a poem titled Socorro, from a painting by Charles Garabedian titled Starless Night, and I'm reading this in honor of Veterans Day. Socorro. No myth that soldier on bent knee weeping over his dead friend, exposed, camouflage uniforms ironic with no growing thing in sight. He could be any soldier, any war. He could be Ajax, who slew himself dishonored that Ulysses was chosen to receive murdered Achilles' armor. Already too many losses at his heels, Ajax could take no more. A Vietnam vet once told me, on such a starless night, he bent down to tie his boot. His battalion around him, weapons down, Suddenly a grenade shred their cocoon. When he sat up, his comrades lay dead in a halo of flame at his feet. "Socorro," he cried, "help!" None came, not then, not now. Myth has its moments of grace. A hyacinth sprang where Ajax fell, on leaves, first letters of his name, I, meaning woe. Taking heed, the gods were near, Ulysses rallied on. The vet returned home, holds up his arms at any sudden sound, strikes at phantoms, shouting, "Socorro!" in a dark and empty room. No purple flower or heart to bear his name. No camouflage for that night, still burning in his brain.